Let's start our meeting. Today we are going to talk about DFR, which is drone as first responders. It has been an item that has been sitting in front of us for a while for consideration. Today I'm joined by my colleague Pat Hogan, Martin Ave, Rita Peñawa, President Helen Hudson, myself, Rashida Cardwell, Jimmy Manto, and Patrona Joe Rouser. And we are also joined by First Deputy Chief Shaw, and the whole team is here, I see, and they look excited. So welcome, and today, Chief, is just to revisit our conversation before. I don't know if you have anything you want to say first, or should we just?
No, I have.
Okay.
I'd like to have the opportunity to say
Please.
a couple things, if you don't mind. Appreciate the opportunity for letting me come in. I came to the public hearing last night, and we all listened to it, so we heard it. And there's a couple things, and we've had these discussions that we're willing to make some changes to put in some safeguards for some of the issues that were raised last night, and I'll get to those here in a second.
Okay.
But first,
Okay.
just to let you know that the current drone program we have, not the drone as a first responders, some of the successes we had. Just about a month ago or so, there was an incident where a man was, a couple calls came in where a man had what appeared to be a long gun. He was down in the area of Geddes and Van Rensselaer. The patrol officers put the drone up, were able to assist in tracking the man to the mall. And once he was in the mall cameras were used, and within seconds, that whole thing was brought to a successful conclusion. Not to make light of it, but I was playing golf. I figured I was heading into the building because this is going to be a big one. And before I even finished that hole, the guy was in custody, and it was no big deal. There was nothing. It was solved. So that was a success, time saver. There was a brush fire over in the Skunk City area. It was used to monitor hot spots. It's very successful with that. And then the last thing I'd like to point out as far as assisting the fire department is there was the Maria Regina. We were able to help them more accurately deploy their water cannons and onto the proper places in the thing, because they could get out and see where the water was going, where it needed to be, so that helped. Not drones as first responder, but drones in general. Criminal investigations have been used in multiple gun recoveries, recovered stolen vehicles without pursuits, and also the drones being used in the ATV program, which I'm sure all the councils are getting a lot of complaints about the ATVs racing all over the city. Those are also done without the need of a pursuit, right? Like we can use the drones to follow them to where the perpetrator is going. They can be safely stopped and ticketed, and it prevents a lot of issues. So the pillars of the drone program in general is to improve police response to calls for service, to enhance the efficient use of police and city resources, to provide real-time situational awareness, and to support and de-escalate incidents. So, as a result of the meeting last night and some of the conversations, Councilor Majoke, that you and I have had, I've provided you and President Hudson with the current policy. But we talked after the meeting last night where we want to build in some more safeguards, I think. Doesn't change what we want to do with the program, but it will, I think, assure, build some more public confidence and trust in what we're doing. So last night, we are in the process of amending 606.6 of the policy, which is the use of the UAS, unmanned air systems, to reflect supervisor approval prior to the use of each drone, which would be at the level of a commanding officer, which is a lieutenant or a captain. We had that discussion. You want a high-level person to make that decision. We also would like to consider building in, if it's not a lieutenant or a captain, a sergeant who does have the Part 107A license and is FAA certified, so that we keep an eye on that.
It's not either or, is it? That's what you're saying?
It could be.
Either
It's open for discussion. We're willing to go either way.
Okay.
We think it'd be more efficient if we did both.
Okay.
But if it's just the commander, we can do that too.
Yeah.
606.7 of the policy will mandate that the drone as a first responder will not be used for random patrols. It's currently not in there. We will put that in there. Drones will not be used to monitor protest activities absent an articulable danger to safety to the public interest.
Chief, where would that protest activity?
It was 606.7. So if you go,
That's the old policy.
that's the old policy. Yeah. Right, the new policy. It's not in there. That's what we're willing to put.
Gotcha.
These are additions.
And, you know, when we talk about that protest clause, I'm looking at 606.6K, you define, well, you don't define, but you have an object for special events. Then you've got M, UAS, you know, again, that generic enhanced public safety clause, and then P, mutual aid support. And I'm wondering if protest activity can or will fall under K, M, or P, what we might do in that scenario.
So special events, we're thinking football games, basketball games, concerts, Clinton Square. But we're going to put in the other policy. I just lost my spot there. We're going to put in there that is specifically prohibited, the drones of first responder to be used in protests. That will be added.
Yep.
Just-
You know, I can think of it a world where a protest would be considered a special event.
That'd be a little too cute, but here it's going to specifically say protest.
Okay. And, you know, I think we're trying to avoid cuteness
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Well, Chief, just, you know, let's parse a little bit about that. A protest might be a situation where a drone could be used to safeguard the people who are protesting, couldn't it?
Not the drone as a first responder. If we had nothing that we can't see with our own two eyes from where we are already. So the drone as a first responder would be something that would be used remotely, right? That's the whole idea, is that it can be flown remotely. The officers can review it from the public safety building, get to the calls. For the protests, we're putting on the table that we are not going to use the drone as a first responder for that. Any type of cameras that we use in a situation, the officers would already have to be able to see it.
Okay, because I was just thinking about the protests that happen downtown with all the high buildings and everything else, and maybe somebody doesn't like that protest. I mean, I could see using a drone to maybe safeguard the protesters or not.
So I mean, that's kind of the
I know, I
danger
mean,
when you're
this is-
putting limitations
this is
on
a
about the
complicated
protest,
issue,
right?
yeah.
Because that would be a perfectly good use for a drone, is to be able to see on top of buildings, right? Because we all know that that's what's been happening lately. We've had a couple of major incidents in the last year where snipers are on top of buildings. I don't want to give away all our tactics, but outside of the use of drones, we already checked those things, but it would be a definite nice tool to have.
Yep. And are you taping protest activity? You know, video recording of
So all the
individuals?
stuff in the drone is recorded. It's put onto a SIM drive, and then we collect it and we put it onto evidence.com, at which point it goes the same place as our body-worn cameras.
And what's the duration of it?
What's the duration of it? How long is it? Can we record?
How long, not how long can you record, but how long do you keep it?
Retention.
Well, we have a retention policy. I don't know exactly. I think it's 30 days, generally speaking, unless it's evidence. If it's evidence, then we will have to keep it based on the retention policy laws. So if we had evidence it was a homicide, we'd keep it forever. If it was a misdemeanor, I think you keep it for 2 years. But there's laws on how long you retain any records.
Would you share that with us as well, just to see what's
retention?
the time frame of retention?
Sure.
Share that as well. Are you done with your presentation, Chief? Or
I
you still-
had a couple more things to go, but if,
Yeah, could we just hold with our question, let the chief go through with his presentation and?
I'm almost done.
Okay.
I'm on like 5 and 6 to go. I just want to check with Sergeant Einbeck. Sergeant, did you have any more to add about the retention time frame? Am I off base on that, or does that sound about right? Okay. All right.
Sergeant Ibeck, Technology Division. The retention policy follows our body cam policy retention, which the chief just mentioned. The SD cards are uploaded into evidence.com. So it will follow the retention policy that is for the body cam policy as well.
So where's evidence.com stored?
It's in the cloud. Yep.
So how do you snatch it back?
It's capable, you just log into our evidence.com platform and you can see the evidence.
So then you can delete it once you need to.
We don't delete it. It's followed on the evidence retention policy. So say a parking ticket is recorded on a body cam, that's held for at least a minimum of 3 years. So it's a high retention policy. Axon follows our retention policy that we put in place. So when it comes upon the 3-year mark, it'll go through our evidence and automatically delete it out.
3 years.
Yep. And one of the questions, concerns that came up last night was, one of the commenters had made a comment that Axon has the ability to use their data basically as you see fit. We spoke to the representative this morning, and they provided us the highlighted language in the contract that says that this is our data, and that, to cut to the end, that they can't be shared with anybody unless it's performing troubleshooting, maintenance, or diagnostic screenings, and enforce the agreements of this policy, which means they can't give our data to anybody. And then, I've mentioned this before, this is a real quick one, that there will be, if approved, before this program gets off the ground, there will be a dashboard on our website where everybody can see how often the drone flew, where it flew, what the flight pattern was, what the nature of the call was. That dashboard will be up before we get it up and running. And the last thing I'd like to add is that, this is going on with other agencies. The Oswego County Sheriff's Office has got it up and running. I offered to the members of this body, I hope you guys saw it, the ability to view that if you would like. That offer still stands. They're willing to come to Syracuse to show you all how it works, or we could take a field trip to Fulton to see how it works. So that offer still stands. And I don't know if you heard yesterday that the county executive says he's putting a bunch of money into the sheriff's department, and a significant portion of that is going to be for a DFR program.
Yep.
Would you, before we get into question, would you just, take us back a little bit and talk about why you want this program? Just
Yep.
general, point by point.
So,
Before we get into
it goes with the points that I put out on page 1 of the document here, of the pillars of the program, right? But that we will improve police response to calls for service. I can give you an example. For example, the one that everybody uses, and this is an extreme example, but another agency had a call where there was a report of a man with a gun in the park. The drone as a first responder went out there. Now, if the officers come to that call, well, a man in the gun with a park, sitting on a bench, but he's displaying a gun, you're going to go in there with heightened tensions, heightened awareness, and you're going to be at this level. The drone as a first responder went out there, saw that the man was using it to light a cigarette, but this level just went from here to here, right? Another use of efficiency would be the example I gave you about the mall, or the fire, Maria Regina assisting the fire department. We can use it to go over wooded areas, right, that are hard to see. There's thermal imaging on it, where if there was a lost person, a missing child, anything along those lines, you can see that on a heat map. It's just going to provide real-time situational awareness, which is the example I just gave, and that also points to the de-escalation, right? So situationally, the officers realize that it's only a lighter, and it also de-escalates at the same time. So that's our purpose for the program.
So do we expect to have like a list of criteria for calls that we'll use it for first versus, is someone going to be deciding that on the fly, like, oh, this one looks good? Or is there going to be a list of calls that say, okay, this is where we put the drone up?
So we already have a policy on priorities, and so it would have to follow that, right? If somebody wanted to use it to go check a loud party that's 2 hours old to see if it's still going on, versus a shots fired just came in, it's going to the shots fired. We already have a policy on that.
So a loud party in someone's backyard, we could put the drone over the backyard? A fenced yard, we could put the drone over the yard?
If we're looking for a loud party, currently we could, yes.
What do we do now if someone's having a loud party? Do we have the right to go into the backyard?
We wouldn't go into the back, well, yeah, if they refuse to stop and they're committing a crime, we could enter.
I think, Chief, I was going to wait for a little bit, but I think where Councilor Monto is going is the shift in the policy in Section 3. You talked about amending Section 6 and Section 7. When we pull out a copy of the drone policy from 22 is the date I have on here.
Yes.
It includes a clause that reads, and I quote, "Absent a warrant or exigent circumstances, operators and observers shall adhere to FAA altitude regulations and shall not intentionally record or transmit images of any location where a person would have a reasonable expectation of privacy, e.g., residence, yard, or enclosure." That clause got modified to read that, quote, "Personnel will consider the protection of individual civil liberties." We heard that clause in the absence of the, of that statement. We had heard that identified as an issue by a number of individuals last night. I know that concerns Councilor Monto and myself as well. It feels like we had at least a fairly robust statement of privacy that is now watered down, and a lot of the privacy protections to the residents are absent in that clause.
So we definitely wouldn't be able to use the drone to look in somebody's backyard without probable cause or reasonable cause to believe that there's something going on. We're not going to be able to fly over and see what's going on in Rich Schaaf's backyard. That's clearly prohibited.
But if
Now, if we had a call for a loud party,
Right.
maybe a big fight or something like that in the backyard, maybe even weapons displayed,
Right.
we would yes.
And what if the call came in 3 blocks down the road and they're flying over your yard on the way to get there?
The camera will not be down and recording on its flight, right? The camera will be looking out or up. You don't want to look down because that tends to make you want to go down. It's like riding a motorcycle. You look where you want to go.
So if we get there and nothing's going on, we would delete that footage that day?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think so. I think it would still be put in the evidence.com. And here's the reason. Somebody calls in and says, "You were looking in my backyard," say it was 2 doors down or 3 doors down. I want to be able to pull that footage back up and look to see what they were actually looking at. Did it go down 3 doors ahead of time? Also keep in mind that if a complaint comes in and the complaint goes to the Civilian Review Board, they're also going to have a chance to look at this video and see where it's going. There will be other people besides the police department that will be reviewing this footage.
Question for you, Chief. How do we guarantee that we don't use drones for profiling?
It's written right in the policy that you can't consider race, gender, and all of those profiling type of things, right? It's right in there in the prohibited use one, which was 607. Nope. And it's in here somewhere. I just read it. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's 606.
Bullet point 2. Can't target a person based solely on actual or perceived characteristics such as race, ethnicity, national origin, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression, economic status, age, cultural group, or disability.
Okay.
What's the accountability measure on that part? Say that's not followed. What happened? And who does it?
While we have our progressive discipline, the person, if they violated the policy, would be written up, and then everything's taken into consideration. At the end of the day, the chief makes the final decision. CRB will have a chance to look at it and weigh in on it, and then the chief will make the final decision on what that discipline is going to be. Could be anything from a verbal warning or an unfounded, all the way to a termination, right? Everything's in between.
So you are able to have the opportunity as a chief to arbitrarily just review what's happening with the recorded material, right? Because what I'm hearing is this discipline will happen if somebody see it, right? If somebody see it that is external, basically. But is there a review mechanism within the department that will proactively review every recorded video to make sure that certain
So we do
privacy
that with the
right-
body-worn cameras. I'm not sure, Lieutenant Williams, do we have it built in that we'll be doing that with the drone program? Or if not, we can clearly add that there's a random review process being done.
Lieutenant Williams, I oversee emergency management and special events. I'm sorry, could you just repeat the question?
So I was, yeah, you want to?
He was asking if, we review body-worn cameras randomly just to check them. Do we do the same thing with the drone program, or can we build that in?
We are doing it now. It's not built into the policy. Happy to add it if that's something you'd like to see. But Sergeant Wells and I do review periodic flights from time to time on different calls, for sure.
I think it makes sense to be proactive about it rather than waking up and said, oh, shoot, we should have done this. You know, proactively being able to review those videos so, you know,
Yeah.
trust
It's a
and
great point.
verify. Yeah.
And Councilor Williams, if we can go back to 606.3 just to make a point.
Thank you.
I do understand, and I see your point. It's a very good point. What we did when we rewrote this policy, we took a very outdated policy when drones were very new in the law enforcement world, was our first original policy, and we used some gold standards through CALIA, the accreditation agency. They oversee a lot of departments who already have a drone policy now. We kind of cherry-picked what we felt worked best when we wrote this policy. So that certainly wasn't intentional to water this down. Great point. I see your point. I'm sure Chief Schaaf and I will talk when we get back on possibly adopting that part of
Right,
it.
and, you know, when we talk about the gold standard, kind of in the industry, there's nothing to say that we can, as a city, choose to go above and beyond in order
Correct.
to have additional protections for the privacy of our residents. You know, if the threshold is here, we can go higher.
Yes. I just wanted to address here, but it's a great point, but there was no intent to purposefully water that down. And I recognize it, you know, it is slightly watered down. So I just wanted to say there was no intent to do that on purpose as we were rewriting this new policy from an outdated, older policy. That's all.
Counselor, if that's what it takes to get this project across the finish line, I can assure you that we'll get that in there.
I have one more question. This may be a little off the cuff, but you said you review it and CRB reviews it, right? So you know the council does have a public safety committee. So would they be able to also review the camera, the drone footage?
I'm sorry, review the flights?
So
I
what
didn't quite
the
hear it.
recorded video?
Yep.
Would the committee, Public Safety Committee, also have access to review it just like CRB does as well, and everybody else?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I'm sure you could see the video, but I don't know if wouldn't want to do it in a public setting to
No, it wouldn't be,
protect
it
other
would just
people.
be the
The
public
members.
safety committee.
So
It's four people.
Yes. To answer your question, yes.
Okay.
Another thing that kept coming yesterday from everybody that was up for discussion, it's who are we sharing this information with? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's our data, we're not sharing it with,
Who are we sharing with?
we're not sharing, it's our data, we're not sharing it with anybody.
Okay.
But Chief, you know, I asked the law department, I asked Joe Barry this yesterday. I mean, each case would have to be reviewed on its own merits, but any data held by the city is subject to FOIL or a court order.
Right.
That
mean,
is
that's
true,
true,
right? That's
right.
true of any police report, any data, anything. If a court orders its, release or evidence or entered into review, then that would be the case, yes.
In any police policy, is, you know, you sharing that data with any other department, like a state department or a federal department, that would be part of your police policy. So how would you handle that?
Right now, the way the body-worn cameras work is that body-worn camera data, Lieutenant or Sergeant Bank, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but that goes into evidence.com, and I think the State Attorney General's office has access to it. We have to give people specific access to get that data. In other words, nobody's going to go fishing through it without access given by us. That's correct, right? And we have given it to the Attorney General's office, so there's another set of eyes on us.
The other question, Chief, in regards to the authorizing authority within the department, you said it could be a sergeant, it could be a chief, it could be a lieutenant. We have a good number of lieutenants in the department, sergeants, 5 chiefs, right, total. Is that access going to be given to all the leadership, or is there going to be specific people within the leadership so that it's not sporadic in a sense?
So the way it's going to work in reality is it's going to be a patrol call, or if it's something else, it's going to be a patrol call because drone is a first responder. So there's going to be a captain and/or lieutenant, 24/7 that works. Sometimes they might be a little busy or something, and if we were going to extend it to sergeants, it wouldn't be every sergeant. It would only be the sergeants that have the license to fly the drones. So if I'm a sergeant and I don't have it and you're a sergeant, you do have it, you could make the call, but I couldn't. But in a perfect world, a lieutenant or captain can make it, and by default, then the next step up in that organization is all 5 chiefs, and yes, all 5 chiefs would be able to make that call.
Okay, so 5 chief, what if the chief hasn't had a training? How do we?
It's just still going to be based on what the nature of the call is, right? Like, we kind of are supposed to have a general grasp of everything that's going on in the department. And you don't necessarily need special training, but I've got an awful lot of time digging through these drone policies. Chief Russin does. Chief Cecil is a big drone guy. Like, I think he might own 1 or 2 himself. So we all understand the concepts. We know what our dispatch policies are, and when we're going to allow things to be used and when not.
Chief, I guess, following that statement, again, going back to section 6M, quote, anytime a UAS would enhance public safety. Can you give me the umbrella, the spectrum of how you would define enhancement of public safety? You used the gun and park example, and I feel like many of our constituents, when we talk about a DFR program, the gun and park situation is where their mind goes.
Yep.
But
Which number is that one?
6.
606.
Yeah. The gun and park, by your own admission, is not the only situation scenario in which the DFR program would be operational. Again, kind of basing upon feedback we heard last night, there was pushback on the lower level calls. And I guess not only the lower level calls, but the shift in language from, early discussion around high level calls, and then it migrated to the lower level. And I'm not sure if people actually took issue with the low level or the switch in language.
Understood. Understood.
But again, kind of trying to better understand that concept of any time a drone would enhance public safety.
So that's why we're going to have a command officer or a deputy chief even, or a sergeant with the knowledge to make that decision, right? The rest of the policy spells out when you definitely can't, and so it'd have to be outside of that. You can't go on fishing expeditions. You have to have a reasonable, articulate reason that you're doing something. Even this is not a catch-all where you can just do anything you want. You still have to be able to articulate it, so have to be able to defend it. So that's a standard scrutiny or review.
So, Chief, I was looking at the Surveillance Technology Working Group document that is on your website. And here there's a quote that says, several members of the public also made the point that citizens expect people, not robots, to show up when calling the police. Now, I think what this is alluding to is the customer service side of policing, right? And I guess my question, putting this statement into consideration and considering that as you send drone, will the officers also follow? And when do the officers show up to this? Because I don't know if once the drones show up and is able to address the situation, somebody is able to be put into control.
So currently,
where does the officer show up?
So currently, there's follow-up phone calls made from 911. If it's a long time between, say it's a low-level call, like a loud music, and it's been sitting there a long time. If the drone as a first responder goes down there and sees that it's not there anymore, then a phone call could be made back to the complainant saying that we've checked it out, responded, that the problem is resolved. Certain situations are going to require a police response anyways. This is just going to get us there quicker, get some on-the-ground intelligence out to the officers arriving to enhance their safety, the public safety. You kind of know what the layout is, speed the call along. But a lot of calls, even though you're using the drone, are still going to require human to intercede, right? The drone can't do a burglary investigation. The drone can't take a report if a report is necessary. So anything that rises to the level where you're going to need a report, we're going to have to make that report happen.
And I think, Chief, based on what we are hearing, that any case that require drone would be a high priority case,
No,
right?
not necessarily.
It wouldn't be a high priority case.
No.
So a lower case would, so say there is somewhere in the street, kids are playing music, they're playing ball, and there's a lot of noise, and you get called. Now, that call, you might receive 1, 2, 3 from the neighborhood. Now, would that call, knowing that it's not a threat, it's a noise, would that require a drone?
It
to
wouldn't
show up?
require a drone, but if it's been sitting there a while, you might want to go take a look and see if the kids are still there, right? Say the call came in at 8 o'clock at night, now it's 9:30 and it's dark, and you can't get a hold of the person to call to verify it, maybe you do send the drone and say, look, we can clear that call out of there, you don't have to send a police officer, the kids went somewhere else. They're not
You know,
playing
I
ball
think there's
anymore.
also an issue, I know in a particular, that plagues my neighborhoods is those gangs of motorcycles, ATVs and all that. You know, that obviously the police can't pursue them, but you could follow them where they go and maybe seize them. I mean, I think that might be relatively low level, but it's a big problem in some of the neighborhoods I represent.
It costs us a significant amount of man-hour and money to definitely the biggest benefit to that is it prevents pursuits, right? Like, we're not already going to pursue vehicles because they're stolen, but this is going to prevent somebody from seeing the police if we try to pull over, that they take off because they think they're getting stopped, right? So if we got a drone on them, you quietly find out where they go, and then you go grab the illegal vehicle.
Chief, on this one, you're saying you're going to do high priority and low priority. So what happens if the drone goes out, you get a call and someone gives you a call, but the message that they gave you were incorrect, right? So sometimes somebody might think, oh, it was a fight, but a fight really was something more tragic, right? And then to get there and the drone gets there, every second that the drone is waiting is preventing the officer to come like a real person. So like what protocols are in place for versus, you know?
Something like that in progress, you're going to try to send a police officer if one's available, so that would be going at the same time. Hopefully the drone gets there first, finds out that everybody's gone, oops, they're still fighting, or B, there's a man laying on the ground motionless and everybody else is gone. So you'll have that intel before you get there, which would increase the response. Or if, say, you didn't have the resources to send it and you put that call out, police officers are going to put aside whatever they're doing if they can and go to help somebody.
So the drone would be first and then the police would be second? Or they're
Well, the
going to be
drone's going to get there
simultaneously?
faster. It's just line of
Okay.
sight, it's going to get there faster. You can dispatch a car and a drone at the same time if they're available.
So if we dispatch for the motorbike situation that Councilor Hogan was talking about, is that camera on that drone running as it chases this motorbike all over the city? So I know you said the camera doesn't come on until we get to the scene of where you're sending it, but if you're pursuing a motorbike, motorcycle, crazy golf cart, I don't know, pick a vehicle, but whatever it is that the whole time are we
Also,
recording?
these are like 30 or 40 vehicles. It's
Right,
not
right,
like, you know, I mean,
Yes, to your point, it would be wise to be recording that whole entire encounter. Or if there was an accident, for God forbid it was a serious accident or fatal, you would want that captured if you had that ability to capture it.
And then from the human side of things, Chief, you know, as again referencing the surveillance technology working group, you know, there were 141 people that submitted comments. Out of the 141, you know, 67% of them were opposed to this. Now, as somebody who see the benefit, you also see where the community and how they are feeling. What do you take of that?
I mean, it's an unscientific poll, right? It's just a question thrown out to the world.
And they
I
actually
personally
submitted
feel-
the written stuff.
It is. But I personally feel that people are opposed to something are probably going to have stronger feelings about somebody that thinks something's okay or good. So they're more apt to respond. I can tell you that just personally, it's just anecdotal, like that kind of unscientific poll is, that I haven't heard anybody complaining to me personally about it, and they think it's a good idea. That's just me anecdotally, personally. You probably all have your own experiences, and I'm sure you're hearing both sides of that coin.
Even if out of the 141 people that submitted comments were like, we don't want anything to do with this. It's too dangerous, it's too invasive, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I think is to keep in mind, it's a pilot program, right? Like, we're going to do this, and we've already agreed to come back to the council in 1 year's time to review, you know, what the program's doing and everything, and probably going to ask for more funding to review it. So I would beg of this committee to the council to give us the opportunity to prove our trustworthiness. I hope you trust us enough to do the right thing. And then we're going to review this again in a year. We've already made that promise.
Just make a clarifying point too, Counselor. I've heard it mentioned a few times as the drone responding first and then an officer responding second. I just kind of want to get away from that mindset. The drone as a first responder is not intended to replace a police officer, period, unless the drone gets there and recognizes there's not an issue anymore. Any priority one, priority two, something that's active, that's an emergency, shooting, stabbing, robbery, we all know the calls. They're going to be sent simultaneously. But the benefit of the drone is it's going to get there most likely within 30 to 60 seconds by the time that dispatcher even ends her broadcast dispatching that police officer. If the police officer's at the building or on lunch break, probably long before he even gets back in his patrol car to respond there. So now we have eyes on the scene already long before the officers ever even get there. If it's a low-level call, a loud car parked in wherever, playing loud music, and patrol is so busy they can't address that call and it's waiting for hours or whatever, the drone is available. There's no high-priority calls. Patrol is busy clearing up a lot of other low-level calls or stuck on investigations or a major crime scene, what have you. That drone will be able to go and at least see if that vehicle is still in that area. So that issue may still be existing, whereas without the drone, you'd be waiting several hours for the officer to get there. So I just don't want us to think about the drone replacing. We're going to send the drone to every call first and then a cop second. They're going to work together.
Lieutenant, can I ask you a technical question?
Sure.
So pilot has part 1 of 7, therefore line of sight is no longer a thing. What's the range on each of the vehicles? And if I remember back to our prior committee meeting, were you thinking quadrants or what would the layout be?
So initially, we're starting with 1. We want to crawl, walk, run, right? We're going to start with 1 unit. I think we've kind of mapped it out to cover the entire city. If we build this pilot program, it becomes a success. The community starts recognizing the worth. I think 5 of them stationed throughout the city, spread out, would cover most of the city. So long-term goals, I'd like to get to 5. But we want to start with 1 and see how that works.
And where would the one roughly be in the city?
We're working now somewhere up near the Woodlawn Reservoir area, on top of one of the water buildings up there. I think that's nothing set in stone. It's not there yet, but that's our thoughts. Is probably a good idea. We were gonna. It depends on how long. Possibly even the new public safety building.
That's discussions we had, but it's not ready yet.
Yep. Thank you.
So is there a mechanism to Chief, to control what a drone can record? Because,
Yes.
so,
Yes.
okay,
We
so,
can turn the recording on and off.
okay, so going, you can turn that off.
Yes.
Coming, once the situation is settled, you can turn it off.
Yes.
So that's good. But what if, say something is happening in front of City Hall, right? And the parking lot across the street, is there a way to just focus on that situation and not record everything else in the surrounding area?
No, I don't think so. It's going to be just like any other camera, right? If you happen to catch something in the background, you're going to happen to catch it in the background. But the policy is going to be if you're going to the front steps of City Hall, you're not supposed to be looking at the parking lot across the street. If you go at a certain angle and you happen to catch part of it, yeah, but you shouldn't be stopping in the parking lot first or after.
Yeah, and I'm asking that question, Chief, because when you look at the concern of the public, it's part of the concern is being involved in a business that you shouldn't be involved in. Mm-hmm. In terms of now you are getting recorded when you should have, when you have no business being recorded, and that's why I say you are focusing on an issue that is in front of City Hall, mm-hmm. but across the street, I'm getting recorded, and I'm not part of what's happening. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how you address that, because that's where privacy.
It does, right? And it would depend what you're doing across the street, right? You're smoking a cigarette where you're not supposed to be smoking a cigarette, or drinking a beer where you're not supposed to be drinking a beer. But if you just shot somebody and we happen to catch that on video, then we're going to want to use that.
When does the dash cams come on for the vehicles?
I've never used a dash cam, so I'm not sure.
Counselor, to go back to your point with the camera recording things, the same can be said about the cops cameras as well, too, right? I mean, I don't know of a time where somebody said, geez, I wish there wasn't a cops camera at this location. You know what I'm saying? So I think you're going to inadvertently catch some things for sure, but that's the same for every camera we have in this city.
Except those don't inadvertently catch backyards, right? The cops cameras don't go over someone's backyard. So I guess I have two concerns. One is misidentifying somebody, right? So if someone calls and says, you know, we have a black female in her early 30s causing trouble in this backyard, that describes both Rashida and Patrona. Like that ages, right? Early.
Except they're not troublemakers.
But I do get concerned that we are misidentifying somebody. And then on the other side of that, and I don't mean to be flippant here, but we also probably will catch footage of someone in their backyard thinking that they're in the privacy of their own hot tub, deck, whatever it might be. So what do we do with the footage that flies over? No, she doesn't have a hot tub. But what do we do with the footage that flies over someone's backyard and the woman is topless and suntanning, right?
Again, flying point, no, it's a great point, Counselor.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
disputing your point. Flying from point A to point B, the camera is going to be positioned forward. When we get, the only reason we should be recording somebody's backyard is if we have a call there and a purpose to be recording that backyard.
Or if you're chasing somebody that is jumping through backyards.
Correct. Well, correct, but that would be no different than if we were chasing them on a body camera. It would also be recording as we go through the backyard.
Right.
But if you are hovering above, you know, houses are so close together. If you are hovering above, you could be recording the next door neighbor who's sunbathing and have no business with the next door neighbor. But because they are right there in the proximity, and you can't manipulate the camera to only focus on the house in focus. You see what I'm saying?
No, it's a great point.
Right.
But also, if there's a specific event happening, we're not going to be recording it zoomed way out. You would hope we're not, because that quality of that video is not going to be very detailed, right? Our whole purpose when we record is to get in as close as you can to see all the details of what's happening. So you have a great point. Is it possible to record somebody else's backyard while you're focusing on this backyard? For sure. Absolutely. But more than likely, we're going to be zoomed in enough that it should only focus on the 1 yard and the actual event that's happening in that specific area.
This is a committee meeting. It's just not, yeah.
You know, I guess, Counselor, to assuage some of your fears, you know, to what Lieutenant Williams just spoke to, that if we're looking at something in the backyard that we need to look at, and we happen to catch something, there's probably not a lot we can do about that. But the recording of the flight between point A and point B is something that we are willing to negotiate, right? That is something that, it's my opinion, that we'd be better off having that video in case somebody makes a complaint that you're looking at my backyard. We could go back and review it. The CRB could, the Attorney General's office could review it and say, nope, they absolutely weren't looking down. But that point of in-transit video is clearly open for negotiation.
That's where
And
my
if that's
problem
what
come in, because you're gonna hold that footage for 3 years.
if you don't have it, you don't hold it.
I also think I'm concerned because nothing's hack-proof these days, so I get worried about us having data of people not doing anything wrong, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm over-worrying about that, but I get where people are coming from, that they feel like something's flying over their house and they don't know why. Because we do get those calls. I think there was a drone over Beatty Street 2 nights ago. A woman calls and says, why is it here? I can't answer that question.
It's gonna be
It may not even be ours, right? That's the...
It's going to be a pretty quick posting, and I don't know the exact time frame, Brian, I don't know if you do, of the dashboard, that people will be able to go look at that and see why that drone is flying. That's a quick delay, right?
I think we have flexibility in setting it because it's something that happens automatically. We can set parameters. I mean, Axon can set parameters. So I think we have a choice in whether we want it to go. I think most agencies do a 2-hour window after the flight. It will be posted on their dashboard. But I think there's flexibility in that.
I have a question, and just bear with me with this question because I'm Corley. I know, Chief, you said you never used a dash cam, but has any other chiefs out here ever used a dash cam? No?
Aren't you a traffic guy?
Nobody? Nobody used the dash? Yes.
Axon fleet for the patrol cars?
Yes.
Traffic cars. So they're activated by triggers. First one is speed over 80, your light bar in full red and blue, and physical activation.
Right, so physical, so you could be an officer and say, hey, boom, I need to,
Activate.
okay.
Yep.
So with that process, those actual footage is still uploaded to the same
Axon, correct.
Axon, right? And that's the same with the
Body cam,
body
correct.
cameras, they're still uploaded, okay.
All three to the same platform, Axon, evidence.com. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I need, thank you.
That's why I brought the experts.
But to add to that point, there's only certain cars that have the dash cams, right?
Yeah, I think it's just a traffic
Just
cars
traffic
that have
cars.
them.
That's why you can have it.
I never worked traffic, sir. I only wrote very few tickets, too.
Me included, no. Chief, going back to the public hearing yesterday, I think, the biggest concern last night were guardrails, guardrails around the practice and the use of drones, I think as we go back here, if you and your team could really sit down and build that level of comfort, especially from the public as they read, the policy, to be able to say, okay, here's where SPD will not go to use the drone, and here's what is allowed, to spell it out clearly. I think with the matter this sensitive, I'm sure you're not going to completely highlight everything and spell out everything, but just developing as much as clarity as possible in terms of the guardrail around the use. I think that would help a lot.
Yeah, I think unless there's any opposition to it, the things that we did suggest, that we can get those into the policy now, and then we can provide that to you all, and you can take a look at it and see how you feel about that.
Okay.
I would like to get those done before we do anything else
Okay.
with it.
Last question for me is how do we make sure we a little in terms of maybe public education, how do we calm the nerve down a little bit, because I just like everybody, I'm nervous too.
Yeah.
Right.
So we had, per your request, we did a public education. Tony Borelli from Neighborhood Watch sent out a notice to all his constituents citywide. We had a night, there was a lot more media there than there was people. I did an interview afterwards, explained the program then. It went on all 3 channels. Probably some extra radio channels I'm not aware of. And
What was this, Chief?
it was a drone as a first responder on TV, radio, but Tony Borelli recorded that, and it's still available on his website. I believe we provided that to you. If not, we can, of what the educational program was. We could, Tony's got that on his website. We could try to look into putting a link on our website to his, if one doesn't already exist, so people could go and view it. And it explains all those things that we talked about. It's basically the presentation that Sergeant Wells did on the TV screen, where, what the map looks like, how the flight, why we're flying, how long we're up, all that data will be available.
So Tony Borelli, that's the Neighborhood Watch.
Yes, sir.
Right, group. Have we made any way to TNT, especially I know that captains go to TNT meetings. Have we given them the opportunity to say, okay, as captain that are coming to TNT, you can.
Specifically TNT, no.
TNT, okay.
But we could, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
could we, in the next month or so,
Yep.
with the capacity, make sure that the captains are equipped with the information and let them be explicit, saying that, I'm here to answer any question you may have about drones?
So just to be clear, they're not going to the TNT meetings anymore. So I guess that would be a special trip.
There's no in-person meetings, is that what you're saying?
No, apparently it was stated that due to the budget cuts, they would no longer be attending the.
Yeah, if we were
community
gonna do a
meetings.
public outreach, we would have to make that happen.
Okay. Could we
So I just wanted to make
incorporate
sure
that?
you didn't think it was.
Yeah,
I made a note.
okay, to work with TNT, okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I've heard the discussion that drones are not going to replace police officers. However, you're aware of the incidents that we had last year, Wolf and 2nd North Street with the old Tommy's Bar, and went on for every weekend for many months. people coming out of the bar. They were intoxicated, partying out in the streets. I was there. You saw a lot of people having a good time. You saw people next door at a gay bar, outside too. And we would call and call, wait till maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. I was there 1 o'clock in the morning. Police didn't come, and they did come. Someone at the gay bar made a comment to me that they were going to get a ticket because they were parked on the wrong side. So the scenario is, okay, it happens now, and are we calling a call again? But because we are understaffed and many officers are still over at Armory Square, we are going to use a drone. And the drone is going to be over there, and they're going to see a lot of people, and they're going to see people like me going to be hanging out there. So a lot of it are going to feel now, well, we should have had the police officer, we got the drone, so now our privacy is out for the public to see who we are. So can we expect that if this incident, whether it's on Will Street or on the south side or any place else, where 50, 60 people are gathering, they're making a lot of racket, people are complaining, I'm sorry, but we can't be out there, so we're going to get a drone, and it may catch it. So not all this information is there. Are you going to share that with the media when they say, oh, geez, we want this story, Chief?
So to your concern about
Right.
people's privacies, they're in a bar, they don't want to be seen, we're not going to release that to the public with that. And if we had to release it because it was foiled or whatever, we have the capability of redaction, which blurs faces, license plates, all those things, so that people's that aren't involved's identity wouldn't be known.
Okay, so the media is not going to say, can we have a copy of this for our own newscast? We're not going to do it.
No, God, no.
Okay.
So you're able to blur
Thank
out
you.
the ladies.
We can redact,
Thank
yes.
you.
There was a question, Amir. Next, one question.
Just
We have a whole team that redacts video, so.
for the question that was asked as far as mental health crisis that we have in the city, at what point would the drone be used, or if it would not be used, would it be used at that point?
So I'd like to fall back on what Lieutenant Williams said, right, that the drone is not going to replace a police officer, but it could get you there. You know, if the report's, you know, somebody leaning over a bridge or somebody's hanging off a building, you could get there quicker with the drone for sure, almost every time, to try to assess the situation so that when the officers arrive, they're going to know what positions they should take up, what actions they might want to take. It's just it's an enhancer, but it's not that somebody with a mental health crisis problem, it's not going to replace a police officer.
Ask this question. My counsel won't ask it. I'm going to ask it. Since we've been compromised as a city, and especially through the police department, how would that affect this data?
So this goes onto the evidence.com. Nothing's been compromised, and hopefully nothing will be compromised. It's not, the difference is the other data has the ability to share that, and a network, this one you have to give specific permission. I think that's the key difference, is this one requires specific permission. So we let the Attorney General's office see it. We let the CRB, if they need it for an investigation, to see it, and then our staff can see it as well.
Hackers are good, though.
But can ICE or Border Patrol get into our Axon stuff? No.
Who manages? Does the department own Evident.com?
No, I'm thinking I'm gonna fall back to Sergeant Einbeck. She's our IT person.
I just went to it right there. It's an Axon site.
What's that?
It is an Axon site.
Yeah, but you're not gonna be able to see our video.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to check it out. See what we got there.
Who owns Evident.com, Sarge?
Axon,
Axon?
yes.
Oh, okay.
You know, if I could mention something, I think maybe President Hudson was here, but this conversation in committee meetings reminded me of my first time on the council when we had the same concerns brought up about the cops camera. The same concerns. And I took a tour of a West End neighborhood, Gifford Street, and with Tim Knaus from the Syracuse Post-Standard. And I asked every resident of that neighborhood that I talked to that afternoon if they were in favor or not in favor of those cops cameras. and it was like a unanimous decision. They were in favor of extra eyes on their neighborhood to protect them as far as public safety goes. And so this sort of reminds me of the same thing. I know, President Hudson, you remember that too.
You know, I bet will know this because of my boyish good looks, but I was around long enough to know, I saw that battle, and it was the same, exact same thing, Counselor, that there was a huge pushback, a huge public outcry, and that script is completely flipped to the point where people are, I want them in my neighborhood, where, how come we don't have them?
Every single neighborhood watch meeting, I go TNT meeting, that comes up. I want a cop's camera on my corner. So I think maybe us counselors can talk to our neighborhood watch people and see where they stand on drones too.
Well, I'm still stuck on where you say good looks. Any other question? Any other question?
I just have one. You know, some block areas in our neighborhoods, we have problems with high-speeding vehicles, and your detail has been great. Will there be a time where you might use a drone, just oversee, you keep a record of vehicles that are speeding, like on Oak Street or Park Street?
No, not just for record-keeping purposes.
Okay. Maybe trying to catch someone who's persistent.
We had a detail out, and we were looking for the motorcycles, the ATVs, group of people, because there's people that hang out in car gangs too, just like motorcycles. And if we had a report that they were terrorizing a neighborhood, and we had a detail out, I could see using the drone for that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any others? Well, Chief, send us the updated policy with the recommendation of the discussion we had, incorporating the public hearing yesterday, and we'll reconsider this 2 weeks from yesterday.
I thank you for your time.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. That will conclude our meeting.
Respect.